I'm talking to a camera.
Yeah, there we go. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. Oh, it's all...
Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in to Epic Flail Bunker Podcast, coming at you live.
We are now live.
We are now
We weren't
live.
live a minute ago, but we are now.
We just did a fantastic introduction to this podcast.
I think that was, again, probably 5 minutes of our best work. And literally, the point, to be fair, I'm so glad you realised after 5 minutes that we weren't live, because if we'd done the whole podcast and then you'd gone, oh yeah, by the way, we're not live, I think I probably would have gone out a window.
Yeah, sorry, it's just like, well, no one was like trolling us in chat, and I thought, oh, I'll just double check. It just said like start steer, like, oh, Liam, I don't think we're
Oh no,
I don't think we're live.
But
Welcome
we are
to the
now
show.
live.
We have, yeah, we're really great. We're really happy to be here. Thanks so much for tuning in, both people that are watching it now and people that are watching it after. We've had fun weeks, haven't we?
We both had good weeks, I think.
We've been looking after ourselves. We had a good stream on Thursday.
Yeah, really good stream.
Rehashing what we just said a second ago, but one of the most charismatic people in the history of the show came on, I think you said earlier.
Well, yeah, he came on and produced the show. So normally you see him playing Blood Angels. Very, very handsome man.
I'm trying to think of which soundboard to hit with here.
Just any of them disgusting. Just normal human beings. I've got nothing left. I'm worried. I'm worried that I'm sitting next to this handsomely good-looking man again.
Oh, really? Oh, thanks, mate. You're so kind. No, it was a great game. Go back and watch it. It was a good stream. And we've got another stream coming up on Thursday, which you think is going to be Guard against
I think it's going to be Guard against Space Wolves, judging by what the boys are talking in the group chat that I'm in with them. But again, they're looking at suiting their lists for a stream, and making sure it's a good game with lots of intricacies around the new rules and how that's working and stuff as well.
That's what we like. And we've improved the camera setup, so the cameras are going to look... I think the cameras have been decent to date, but... the top-down camera is going to be way better, and we're going to have a roaming angle on the other camera. It's going to move around a bit. So do tune in. In fact, we'll have a whole different camera. We'll have another webcam on that pole there. So, yeah, the stream's is coming on leaps and bounds every week, and we've started doing a 30-minute summaries of the shows. So we're doing a post-edit and doing it in 30 minutes. So join us for that. Join us for that too.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
And obviously, we'll do the classic plug thing now. Please like, subscribe, comment on anything. Comment on my amazing baldness if you want.
He's really quite bald. He's really quite bald.
Well, this is a day after shaving it. So, we have to set the lights up in this room specifically so it doesn't bounce off my nut, which is quite hard because my nut is especially big. What
do people opposite think is going on right now?
I've got absolutely
the blinds
no
open.
idea. We've got the blinds
what
open.
The fucking hell you doing?
It's been like the worst. I'm not going to... Yeah, we're not going to go down that route. 18...
It's fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
We're... today... Yeah, so that last point, like and subscribe. It helps loads.
Please
and
do.
loads.
And comment on anything.
Yeah.
If there's stuff you want us to talk about, if there's stuff you think that maybe we could improve on, anything like that, just let us know.
It's all feedback is good feedback.
Yeah, 100%.
We will take it. Evening Luke, who's joined us in the chat. So we're going to talk about the balanced Dataslate. We're going to talk about our reflections and also the community's reflections, and look at some of the stats and the numbers and the figures of tournament results that took place before the balanced Dataslate. And then
we're gonna do it, but we're gonna try and put a light-hearted spin on it because there's loads of videos out there going through every single rule change, every single army. Win percent, all that. So we'll do the win percentages stuff, but I think we're going to try and put a bit of a twist on it and make it a bit more light-hearted than most of the channels.
We will definitely make it light-hearted, yeah. And we'll also be very honest. I think some people... There are two things that happen in the 40k world. People on one end of the spectrum, people spin everything up as though like everything's fine and rosy and it's brilliant and like they don't upset anybody and everything's shiny. And
I'm going to be probably controversial and get us cancelled here, but that's normally the people that are affiliated with a certain company that runs this hobby.
Yeah, getting free stuff. And they don't want to rock the boat or say anything that upsets them.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, there's people who depend on the drama and just want everything to be as outrageous. They just want outrage.
And then they get into clickbait titles, don't you? Like,
yeah.
40k is broken from this patch.
Here's why it's ruined.
Yeah. This hobby, I'm never playing this hobby again. And
and then next week they're doing another video about the hobby.
So why I'm now back into the hobby.
Yeah.
Like,
why it's the best thing, but only because I play it.
Yeah.
It's just weird stuff. So we're not going to do any of that. We're going to try and find something in the middle. And those of us that join us live, you're welcome to share your thoughts and chat with us.
Yeah.
we do have the facility to ring people in, but we did have somebody lined up for an interview, but Rob was going to come on, but we've got notes and ideas and thoughts.
So yeah, I've got a lot of comments that Rob has thankfully kindly shared with me about the position of where he believes the game is competitively after the patch. So we get the competitive viewpoint. We look at maybe some of the more casual side of things, playing at your local club, because I know that could be quite oppressive, even when you weren't playing competitively.
Yeah. There's casual players that felt bad about playing Eldar.
Yeah. Let's just throw it out there.
You know what I mean? Like, they were painted like a beautiful army, really enjoyed playing it, but were like, sorry, I'm playing Eldar.
Yeah, and then you'd have that whole thing of being like, I'm turning up, who are you playing tonight? Oh, you're playing so-and-so. He plays Eldar. Like, just pack my stuff away again then, hadn't I?
Telly's in the chat. Thoughts and prayers, my friend. Thoughts and prayers. Just a nice little greeting, that, innit? Thoughts and prayers.
Mate, it's nice.
Right, let's start with...
I didn't realise we were the Christian 40k channel, but evidently if that's the way we want to go with it, let's go with it. Let's roll with it. If Jesus is on our side, we win, don't we?
That might be where the market is.
What, a really niche 40k Christian channel?
Yeah, really
niche.
Really niche and really extreme. Like,
God.
No, not...
But there is quite a lot of religious extremists in Warhammer 40k anyway, if you start looking at some of the units.
But not the, like, dangerous extremists.
Not dangerous.
Not dangerous. We're not going to kill anyone or harm anyone or...
Jesus Christ, this took a turn.
It did take a turn, but maybe that's where the market is, you know. Do a prayer at the beginning, you know.
Do a peace circle at the end.
Yeah.
Light a candle for someone, I don't know.
Yeah, every now and again, do a little sermon.
Chuck up a north, south, east, west.
Yeah, instead we've got stuff like this.
It's fucking disgusting.
I don't think Jesus would approve of our soundboard, would he?
WWJD is not doing that, is he?
He'd see our soundboard and be like, yeah, you're all going to hell. Right,
oh God,
balance data slate. Should we start with some just like general thoughts around it as a thing, like how it came out, like our general perceptions, and then crunch some numbers?
I think it's definitely worth looking at maybe some of the main rule changes around. Probably devastating wounds was quite a big change.
Yeah, massive. Break it down.
So from my understanding, it's gone from being mortal wounds that would then spill over into units. So instead of you all of a sudden doing 10 mortal wounds and wiping out a squad of infantry, it's now they don't
single model.
spill. Yeah. They still ignore invuln saves
and
armor saves, but they now don't spill over.
Yeah, and you still get you still get feel no pains,
and then you still get your feel no pains, which is good.
That's a big change for a lot of people, and that obviously particularly came up, as people know, because of Eldar and Fate Dice and
which I feel that Games Workshop thought it would be more impactful than it's going to be, and I think that maybe that is not going to be as impactful as they think it is going to be. But I think when we get into the results, we'll look at that.
Yeah, that was definitely a big one. And then there were, I guess, the bunch of points changes that they threw around and distributed. There was some, you were saying your Blood Angels list now has got like 2 extra units.
Well, yeah, my Blood Angels list went down 160 points. We had people in the chat the other day saying, I think their Votan list had gone down 240.
Yeah.
Tau had gone down like 350 points.
Yeah, Tau got like a whole new army in there.
Yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
My general thoughts and reflections on it is I'm glad it wasn't just faffing around with points. I was worried that it was just going to be something where they just spin a load of points up and don't get in and actually address some of the rules that were in place. Overwatch, I'm a bit disappointed they didn't go
12
far
inches.
enough with Overwatch.
I think they should have gone 12 inches with Overwatch instead of 24.
Yeah. Instead, it's remained 24. You need line of sight, and Towering can't do it. Which, I mean, Knight's been able to do it, and the Wraith Knight and Eldar. I get the strength in that, but I don't think that is the problem part of it. I think it was the distance. It was the distance,
and it was the fact that they've moved it now, and you can do it in 2 phases. Yeah. Like, you can't actually do it in 2 phases. You can still only do it once per turn, but it was in the movement phase or in the charge phase.
Yeah,
and so it was so like you were moving your own units, and then all of a sudden your opponent was like, "Well, no, wait a minute, mate, I'm going to Overwatch that," and you're like,
"Yeah,
really?"
I don't like it. It's a shame that they didn't drop that to 12 inches or change it so that it was the unit that you were charging. But I think the game had got so broken that that's kind of the least of the worries. Like,
Yeah,
Overwatch still isn't the biggest problem or stressful thing about playing Warhammer 40,000 casually or competitively.
Not
but it's one of the things that I was slightly disappointed.
The other thing I think they needed to address, which I don't think they did properly, was indirect fire.
Yeah, indirect. Well, I mean,
I still don't think it's as it should be.
Yeah, it's still again. I've said this before on the channel. One thing that's really not fun is losing models when you can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
and that still exists in some form.
It's like turning up turn one. You've deployed everything nicely.
Yeah,
you've got everything hidden, and then someone turns up with, well, not 10 Desolation Marines anymore, but you know.
Well, I mean, I think that was their attempt at a nerf, right? It's down to 5.
It's down to 5.
Because 10 was just, I'm sorry, but 10 was just, squads of 10 was just absolutely stupid. They were oppressive.
They were, but when you combine it with Bolter Discipline, and then when you started getting into Death Watch with some of the Death Watch stratagems and stuff, it got really nasty. So
yeah, there's still that looming over us a little bit, but Luke says Overwatch belongs in the bin.
Yeah, get in the bin, as Tom would say. Get in that bin.
What would you want to change? Luke's asking, what would you change? What would you want to change about Overwatch then?
I think Overwatch needs to be either only in the charge phase, as it used to be, or dumb it down to 12 inches.
Yeah, either of them would be better.
Either of them would be better.
Like we said, it's still the biggest problem. I mean, this data slate obviously came to light after Eldar completely dominating competitive play, which we looked at last week, like completely dominating.
Yeah, I think they were, when I look at they were at 69% win rate?
Which is just oppressive.
Which is ridiculous when you think that Games Workshop supposedly aims for every army to be at 45 to 55%.
Yeah.
And they say that's the sweet spot for every army to be in. And when you look at it, you had maybe 5 or 6 armies in that range, and then you had a lot that were a lot lower.
Yeah.
A lot lower. So you even had some down at low 30s.
Yeah, like Death Guard and stuff were knocking.
Well, Leagues of Votann were at 31. I think Death Guard were at something ridiculously low like that as well.
Yeah.
They were my Death Guard notes. 35.
Yeah.
Admech were at 39. You know, Blood Angels, close to my heart. Rep Sanguinius. He still lives, but he doesn't. We're at 40%. Spoiler alert, sorry. Just spoiler alert, just in case no one's noticed the main bit of 40k art that's always existed.
Hey, listen, mate, people read at their own speed, do you know what I mean? People take it at their own pace.
Oh,
yeah, there was just, God. I mean, Eldar had just become completely beyond a joke, and I think I think a lot of people's focus was basically people were thinking, what have they done to Taurin? What have they done to Eldar? I think that was the main, and are some of those factions that were hitting the like 35-40%, are they going to get an overall?
I think they're going to get a bit of a glow up because certain stuff is going to be weaker, but I still think the problem you've got is a lot of those top tier armies. Spoiler alert, I don't think they've done enough to. I don't think so.
Well, let's look at the numbers. So, like, the numbers speak for themselves, don't they? Really. So, I'll get this up and we'll look at it. We'll look at it together because this came out today. It's a great meme.
We both just saw this and we're like, this literally hits the nail on the head.
Eldar took a 50% point nerf and Phantasm is only infantry. Eldar are fixed, right?
Right, please. Someone tell me they're fixed.
I think it's fair to summarise most people's commentary on the data slate being that most people, I think, don't feel they've gone far enough with Eldar. So that's the general consensus, isn't it?
This is the comment I got from Rob on this, who's talking about it from competitive plays. But so Eldar nerfs, not even close enough, not even close to being enough. Still the best army in the game. Expect that we will need 2 or 3 more rounds of nerfs to try and get them back to where they should be. And then he then drifts on to talking about GSC as well. Still saying they're probably going to be the second best army in the game, but will require a lot more skillful play than they did before, of just infinite units coming back. Yeah. And I think Luke's in the chat, so maybe he could comment on the GSC as our resident GSC player.
Yeah, let us know what you think, Luke. I mean, that game I had against Luke at the week, they still seem pretty good. Like, they didn't seem that nerfed. He'd lost Luke said he'd lost a bunch of units, but if those units had been on the board, I mean, that's just ridiculous. They'd just been unfathomable amount of stuff.
You think that he would have had more units on the board and all those infantry units, he wouldn't have been rolling for them to come back. They would have just come back.
Yeah.
And so you essentially go infinite on it, don't you?
Yeah, it's just daft.
I mean,
but they still seem good. Like even then, even if he'd not rolled all his units coming back, they're still pretty oppressive. Well, not oppressive, but they felt all right to us. But then I was also playing Knights, and Knights also felt good into that matchup.
Knights were good into that matchup because you don't have to worry so much about screening with Knights.
No, and
you play your own game.
You got an invuln against stuff that you can turn into a 4-up.
Yeah.
So like it didn't feel too rough. But yeah, so I think the general consensus, and as Rob's saying there, that Eldar still feel really, really, really strong. And I guess let's break down and look at some of the results. So some of these results were done on the old Dataslate, but there are.
Let's go.
Here we go. So this is a new Dataslate. So all these numbers are from tournaments that took place over the weekend or since the Dataslate came out, where they were using the new rules and new data points. Like Drakari at 70% raised a lot of eyebrows from people.
Yeah.
But Eldar is still there on 60. Eldar is still. I'll always call them Eldar.
Yeah, they're always Eldar. Let's just ignore the fact that someone's decided to call them Eldari.
Still sat on 64%. And it's not like there was a shortage of players. There's 42. It's worth saying that most of the games will take place over the next couple of weeks with a bunch of GT. So these are really early numbers off a Dataslate that's only gone Thursday to Sunday.
I think when you look at the bottom, this is off of 3 GTs and about 10 RTTs.
Yeah.
So this is what I would suggest is a mixed bag of player ability as well. Not to have a dig at anyone, but this is a mixed bag. You know, I'm not quite sure how Drakari have gone from being one of the 4 worst armies in the game to suddenly being at a 70% win rate, because they had points decreases, but they also had a points increase on one of their best units. On the Ravager, they had a points increase. So I'm not quite sure how that surprised me when I saw that earlier.
Yeah, that one is quite surprising. But Eldar kind of, as people predicted, remaining strong. Which, if that was the aim of the balanced data slate, in terms of like specifics of that's keeping them there. Okay, mortal wounds they don't spill out. The devastating wounds don't spill over.
They just play the game
still
well.
Incredible. It's still an incredible ability.
It's still an incredible ability.
I'm gonna kill that vehicle. You know what I mean? That like really key piece of your army.
Yeah, and there's the dice, and I don't even have to roll it.
Yeah, that is still.
Oh, and you're still moving towards my infantry. Oh, well, I'm just still going to move. I'm still going to phantasm.
Yeah, I'm
still going to play the mission. I'm still going to play the secondary, and I can delete stuff as and when I want to do it. And
I don't need to see you.
Yeah,
it's just stupid. It's just absolutely. The fact that that's still rocking just feels absolutely ridiculous. Just to jump back to Luke says on Gene Stealer Cults, auto returning unit / free units never been good for the game. GSC needed that gone. They seem more balanced now and still good. Yeah, I think they're sensible.
And I think this is exactly what I'd say with GSC now is they are in the place where they should be as Gene Stealer Cults. They are not an army. They are not a beginner army. Gene Stealer Cults have never been an entry army into 40k. Like I look at them now, and I've been playing 5 years, and I'll be like, nah, not for me. Just too much. There's just too much going on. Like I like my simple stuff.
Yeah, you're a simple man with simple. Maybe you're not simple.
Let's not go down where my simple pleasures lie. We don't need that on this channel.
Welcome to our other podcast,
Liam After Dark. There's all sorts of stories. To be fair, there would actually be a podcast around that.
Yeah. Well, we've got the kit, mate. We could do.
I don't know if we need to be doing that though.
The world's not ready right now.
I think we'd have to black our faces out because otherwise my adventures would soon stop. I think.
It'd be intense. The GC Cults are sat on 43%. But there's only, that means again, you made a really good point there that like this may be not an amazing pool to.
I think a lot of these. I think you've got to take all of these with a pinch of salt because. You know, what else have we got on there? Like, let's be fair. I think one of the big winners.
45 is...
I think one of the big winners out of this is Tau. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. Let's see what because Rob.
I mean, Tau got all the points back, didn't they? All the points drops.
Tau basically got another quarter of their army, like a fifth of their army.
Yeah.
An extra fifth. What's he put about Tau? He's put something about Tau here, but he sent me so much in true Rob fashion.
I kind of hope that, because while you just find out, the other thing to consider, I guess, from this is, and there is a bit of me that really hopes that this is the thinking and process that Games Workshop goes through, but I'm not sure it's the case. I want this to be true, right? I want it to be true.
I'll just tell you now before you say it, it's not, because you're talking logically.
No, but let me just say it because I do want, and the more I say it, maybe the more it may become true. What I would like to have happened is them to have sit down as a team and gone, right, here are the changes, and them to have preempted and predicted what the meta would look like. So, for example, Tau need an extra fifth of their army, and that will allow Tau to keep Eldar in check. Or, do you know what I mean? Like, because that used to happen in War Machine. What would happen is you would have a really strong list, and they wouldn't change that too much, but they would really change something else. And the changing of something else
countered it,
then balanced it back out. So, like, if you wanted to go to an event and win with that faction, you've got to dodge like 25% of the field, which some people could do. But the good players don't want to. Good players don't like matchups.
But let's be fair. A lot of people that play this game, high-level competitive play, they're playing percentages and they're playing numbers. And they're doing the maths in their head about the list they've taken, what it plays into, and then they then go even further into it. And, you know, you played War Machine at a world level. You based it on your dice rolls and what you should be rolling and what should be deleted. So you'd look and go, well, this attack should kill that on law of averages. Because it's just trading, isn't it?
Yeah, but and that's why a lot of competitive players leaning into Eldar and picked up Eldar, not only because they're completely broken, but the fake dice mechanic allows you to get through that. So
allows you to avoid the maths and the chance.
Think about it. Like if this is why I think they should remove fake. I'm just disappointed that fake dice still exist. I think it's an absolutely stupid mechanic. I hate the mechanic because the best players at the game do exactly what you said. Everything is built upon should this kill that. It's not like, well, maybe I will. It's like this strategy has got a certain percentage of happening, and this matchup is a certain percentage. But if your critical dice rolls are cheated, then statistically you're even better odds. Do you know what I mean? So like a 50-50 matchup becomes like, just with fake dice, becomes like a 60-40 matchup or even more, because when you need that absolutely critical thing to happen or to hit or do damage, you just do it. And that to me is a mechanic that is just absolutely awful. I think it's shit. I think it's an absolutely shit mechanic. And the only area those mechanics should exist is really limited application on defensive properties. What they shouldn't be is deleting properties. Because and what I mean by, so I should be clear my language.
It's non-interactive, isn't it?
If you've got to face a mechanic in a game that protects one of your models on a one-off or whatever else, the competitive player will use that to stop a fluky thing happening. Do you know what I mean?
We'll stop that.
Yeah, like, oh God, that shouldn't happen. Auto-save.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if that competitive player has access to an ability which allows something to be deleted, which is low odds, or you know what I mean, then that makes a competitive player a complete nightmare to deal with.
How do you even do? So say you're playing against it. How do you work out what you should be doing against it? That's the problem.
Again, and that's why competitive players, rush to Eldar. You've seen all these Eldar wins because. How do you build a strategy against a model that can always see you, always hit you, always damage you? It's garbage. It's a garbage idea, which based on the law. You know, they've sat down, gone, oh, Eldar, see the fury. It's a law-based mechanic, which often are just garbage. So I've really gone in on them there, but I do think it's it's the worst rule in the game.
I genuinely think that it invokes this much passion in people because it's so detracting from the game. It's so. Not both on a competitive, but also on a casual level.
It's just shit.
Because you turn up to your local, like we turn up to our local games place, the pub, essentially.
Bar.
Yeah, the karaoke bar / pub in Brighton. And there's people there playing Eldar, and people are avoiding them. Not because we don't want to play that person.
People are waiting for them outside as well. Just attacking them
people are getting jumped, but let's not talk about that. But you don't want that interaction. You don't want to spend your one gaming evening of a week, it might be, just going, well, this is fun. I've put my models on the table. Now I'm putting them back in my box. Yeah. There was no interaction.
So this is the bad news. The bad news is, I'll just read Luke from the comments. Luke says, this is a small sample size in the wake of a lot of change and people likely to experiment. Great point. Think there'll be a bit of flux until the end of the month for things to settle down and become clearer. Yeah, definitely. Agree completely, Luke. But it is also concerning that we're still sat there with Eldar second. You know, that. And I think...
I don't think they'll be second. I still think they'll be first, personally. not doing a hot take.
Yeah, I just
because
can't see how they
this
can.
last
Yeah,
week.
I don't understand how they can, unless there's something we've just not seen, like another faction coming in.
I think the next, so I will go back to Rob's saying the next big ones will be GSC, will still be strong because of the way they move. And then you're looking at your Chaos Space Marines. And to be fair, I've played Chaos Space Marines a couple of times and they have felt good.
Yeah, I've watched a bunch of stream games of Chaos Space Marines.
And they
really
do
good.
feel good. And Necrons apparently as well.
Oh, Necrons are bonkers.
So Necrons, I'm yet to play. I've played one game against Necrons.
Yeah, Necrons are quite oppressive. Recursion abilities with really, really, really good shooting, and I think the recursion element of units that just do work is
the
always
Resurrection
really strong.
Protocol thing.
Yeah, like if the other thing I found from playing one, if like recursion mechanics are really good and they're fun and they're very thematic, really thematic. Like
again,
love
it's
the idea
another
of stuff coming
it's
back.
another
Yeah.
thematic
It's
rule
a
like
thematic
the
thing,
Eldar
but
one.
it's another thing. It's a bit like face die, fake dice thematic, but it's just the application of it is only good if the recursion element. Like basically when you're designing a game, you think about points values, don't you?
Yeah.
You're like, right, this 300-point unit, a good games designer will go, this 300-point unit in the course of a game, on average, will kill 300 points of the rest of the meta.
Yeah.
That's how you should think, right? It should be like, this unit in this meta,
kills this.
how much should this kill with a sensible army around it, not just a shit army that won't support it. But recursion mechanics, it skews that calculation. So normally recursion mechanics, you have to underpower them slightly, so the recursion element allows them to get the points
build
back.
it into the points cost.
Yeah,
so
they're really
if
expensive.
something's 10 points and 10 points and they're identical, but one of them's got a 4-up chance of coming back, it should be 15 points.
Exactly. Yeah.
But they've lowered the points on Warriors for Necrons.
Yeah, and a lot of them come back and a lot of them do damage. So it's another one where they've gone thematic, really cool, but they've not thought about the game as like sense. They've not thought of it as games designers as such. They've thought of it as like people that think it's cool that loads of models come back, which is as we're talking about is perpetually the issue with Games Workshop. The issue is the models are amazing. The lore is this easily, well, in my view, the best lore. It smashes any other.
I think
lore
the
out
quality of the miniatures as well, not just the design of them. The actual quality of the miniatures is
unbelievable,
top notch.
It's the best models. It's the best lore. The actual rule set, I think, is really good. There are a few grumbles with this latest edition, but on the whole, like,
always is though, isn't there?
On the whole, I think it's very intuitive. It's fun, but the way they shoot themselves in the foot is they get too excited by the lore and they make thematic rules which sound cool and they can do a cool video about. But the application of it is absolutely shite. I mean, so the bit, as we're jumping around a bit here, and I'll read some comments from the chat in a sec. But I think a good example of this is the Tyrannid book has come out. Really thematic book.
Yeah.
Excellent rules. You can read the Tyrannid book and nothing stresses you out as a player playing against Tyrannid. You think, that's good. That's strong. So the forcing battle shocks just got better with the changes to battle shock.
And the fact that you can put neurolictors and dot them all over the place and force battle shock tests.
Yeah, it's great. There's some really good synergy, which is in line with the lore.
Yeah,
but it's not. You've not read. No one's read the book and been like, "Oh God, there's the next. Here's the next nerf. Is that the other? They're not bonkers.
They don't feel broken. They feel that if you take them and run the lists to almost min-max them, that they will competitively play anyone.
They'll be good. But then think about Votan when they came out in 9th edition. Completely stupid. Had to be errated before the book came out because they'd done this lore. You see what I mean? It's always the excitement of selling the models and I don't think some people go into this like really dumb like anti-capitalist type thing where they're my God, GWE, like of course I want to sell them, like not into. I think that is a very limited worldview of how the world works, right?
Yeah,
you're going to want to send, but I don't think they I think what happens is they don't care that much for the numbers we're looking at on the whole.
No.
On the whole, it's a small percentage of the community, and they just get excited, and they want you to be excited, so they make a really cool rule. And the Dataslate hasn't addressed the coolest rule, which is the fate dice shenanigans. It's still there.
So the way that I perceive 10th edition, and again, we'll go to the chat and see if the chat have got anything on this, is it almost feels like a lot of the rules for 10th edition were made in silos. So it almost feels...
Yeah, there were. We literally spoke to a rules designer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's the way it feels. It feels like they had 4 groups of people, and each group of people got 5 armies.
That is literally exactly what happened.
Oh, okay.
They rushed a decision. Rob, am I in trouble for saying this? Rob's in the chat. He was with me when we had this conversation with him. That is literally what happened. Split the team up.
Yeah.
Everybody each group got a small number of codexes. Go plan and design the game. No one spoke to each other. Bang, there we go. Everything's ready.
Which you can tell by when you look at
Awful.
it. And I bet you...
Awful system.
I bet you that when you pick those top 4 or 5 armies, that was one group of people that did that together.
Yeah.
And when you pick the bottom 4 or 5
armies...
Yeah,
that's another group of lads.
That was another group of people that did that together. Because they balanced it internally amongst themselves.
Yeah, that's why
they just didn't balance it against the rest of the game.
The bit that is reassuring is the Tyranids book, I think, looks all right. And I think commentary I've seen and read is like, yeah, it's a cool faction. Like, look, it's looking good.
There's lots to do in that book as well.
But it's not like, holy shit, this is completely bonkers. Which is encouraging because it's the first book.
I haven't yet seen the classic, this build will be everything video. Because that's essentially what happened.
This build will be undefeated.
Yeah, that's what happened when the Eldar Index came out, though, wasn't it? It was, this is what you do, and this is how you win games.
Yeah. What
have we got in the chat?
I can read some quotes from the chat. Yeah, Carl, my issue with hi Carl, you're right, mate. My issue with the game is in 9th and 10th so far, there are mechanics that you can't mitigate. It's not about who is the best player or the best plan. Any ideas how to make this less of a thing? Yeah, I mean, I think that picks up on the point we're saying of the best idea from a rules perspective is to avoid those things. Make people roll dice. Just make people roll dice.
It's a game where you roll dice.
Yeah, force it. And also, make people roll dice, I think, should be a core element of games design, particularly competitive. And the second one is force people to use strategies. And indirect fire doesn't do that. And fake dive doesn't do that either. So I think, and make it cool, but also make it fit in the current meta.
So just a question for you. When you played War Machine, how many factions are in War Machine? When you were playing...
there's like 12. Yeah, like 12-ish.
12 factions.
Yeah, but they wrote all the rules at the same time for them.
Well, but then when you look at this, I mean, I've got... I don't know how many here. I don't even know how many there are in. Do you think that's the problem? Do you think they've got to the point where we're almost bloated with how many armies we've got? Each army has to do something different.
Absolutely.
Each army has to have a selling point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So they bring Votan out. What's Votan's selling point? Judgment tokens.
Judgment tokens, yeah.
So that's what Votan do, and they've still got to be shooty enough that they're a shooting army. But they can't be like a guard army, or they can't be like a Tau shooty army. So they've got to have something else and that's I think where GW come into this sort of issue is that they're trying to squeeze and shoehorn armies into this meta, this universe that we've already got.
Yeah,
and it almost feels like they'd be better off picking some of the smaller factions. I don't know, Admech. I don't know, some at Tau. I don't know. Tau's model range is pretty fleshed out. But some of the smaller ones, and maybe looking at trying to introduce models into the ranges rather than bring. I know new armies are exciting. They're class.
New armies are exciting. I mean, there's enough armies in the game, I think, to occupy even the most whale obsessive buyer. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many armies.
Well, and there's so many models within those armies.
Yeah. You don't need more, and that's where the tension exists. And we've talked about before is the competitive nature of Warhammer 40,000 is difficult because first and foremost, it's a world that's trying to bring people in and get you excited and get you rolling some dice. And they've fought... War Machine was developed as a game to be a competitive rule set. That was the whole thing. The whole purpose was like a competitive rule set. And some of their models were awful. They were rules designers that made models, whereas GW were model designers that make rules. And I think there are... I don't know. I don't mean to be too negative, because I do think the Tyranid book is an example of what happens.
When we get it
right.
The
only hope is that all the books were written together, or they're writing them together, and they don't do the same codex creep thing that's happened in
the codex creep is a disaster. Towards the end of 9th. Were you playing towards the end of 9th?
Yeah.
When they had came out Jakari was just broken.
Yeah. Well, they were 70%. They were. Well, they were that. They were.
Yeah, and then it drifted into Custodes, I think, and that was broken.
Custodes were amazing. Yeah.
Then it went to Nids, and Nids were honestly with this Malaceptor. And the smiting, they could do like a ridiculous amount of mortal wounds, and it just creeped. All 3 of those codexes creeped, and it was so. It got to the point like it is a little bit now with Eldar, where you turn up to an event and someone would be like, "Oh, I've got Custodes," and you'd be like, oh, "Really?"
Yeah, fuck. It's just so. Well, I'll read some more comments from the chat. So Rob says, "Imagine a 10-year-old you playing in a store and meeting Eldar. You'd never bother again. You should be sent on the next trip to see the Titanic." You will be sent on the next trip to see the Titanic. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you would just literally turn up and have a miserable grim game. Again, 'cause you're not people like rolling dice, and the experience of someone not rolling dice also feels shit because if you're a good player and you're playing against someone who's not as good as you and you're beating them, the feeling that the other person will have, well, at least you rolled some dice. You rolled a lot of dice. So there's a perception of like at least I was lucky.
At least I had a chance.
At least I had a chance. I failed my saving throws.
Yeah, even if I'm on 6-up saving throws, at least I get to roll some dice for those 6-ups.
Not against these chumps. You know what I mean? It's just dead. All right, brilliant. Carl says, make people roll on dice. Fucking amen, matey. Don't give one faction the ability to ignore the fact that it's a dice game. Taking a core mechanic out of the game is just madness, And that...
Exactly that.
It still exists. GW haven't rolled back on it. Maybe they will when it comes to releasing a book. Maybe they will if in another few months Eldar still absolutely dominating. The fear I've got, we'll talk about the positive stuff because there is, I don't know, two. In fact, I still want to moan about Knights.
We both want to moan about Knights. That's the problem.
The thing that is worrying is when you just nerf things a little bit and you top up some other things. What might happen with Eldar is the win rates, they're still like first, second, third, but it's not quite as oppressive as it is at the moment.
But it's still oppressive if they're winning.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? Like, they have to do something about Eldar and change the game because it was beyond sensible. It got very silly. If they have had some points increases, they can't Overwatch anymore without Senior. Their Titanic stuff can't Overwatch anyway. Yep. So there's a little calming of things. Other armies have got buffed. If the meta, if Eldar dropped to like the 60s, the 50s, 58, 60, they might leave them alone. They might escape it.
Yeah, they might leave. But I think what ends up happening is, and I think this is what almost Eldar took out of the game as well. And I know we're on a massive Eldar bash at the moment, but they took out the point. They took out looking at a list and building another list around it. So what a lot of players do, and I've seen this already at tournaments, is people will go, right, I know what the 5 strongest lists are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tailor my list because at some point I'm going to run into that.
Yeah.
What you couldn't do against Eldar was there's nothing you could tailor against it. There was no way of going, do you know what I'm going to do? This is how I'm going to beat Eldar. Because it just wasn't a way of doing it.
How can you beat, I don't have to see you and I auto kill you. Like there's no...
Well, that was the thing. And the reason that they're not a higher win percentage is because there's so many mirror matches. So one of them's got to lose at some point. Someone's losing
the win percentage of them without the mirror is just completely stupid. So I guess in summary, they've not gone far enough with Eldar. Appreciate Luke's comment completely that these stats. So I'll just put it back on screen so you guys can see it. Like these stats aren't of a big enough sample size. But I'm willing to bet that next week when we do this, we'll be looking at. Yeah, I think similar. I mean, I think there'll be loads of turbulence.
Can we just appreciate who's at the bottom at the moment? Why, Blood Angels? Why do you do this to me?
31%.
Not even playing on them. Just that. To be fair, they are playing Sons of Sanguinius. 14 people with a 31% win rate.
Do you know what? There's still 566 players in this. That's still quite a decent sample size.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that would be in War Machine World. That would be like months and months and months of games.
This is one weekend,
a single weekend.
Look, 3 GTs and 28 RTTs with at least 10 players in all of them.
Yeah,
so it's still a good pull.
It's still a decent chunk of people, and we'll pull the numbers next week. The other, while we're just focused on the negative, we will go to positive. This is Imperial Knights. I think took so many unnecessary hits. I think the towering cat Overwatch. Is you can take you're fine. You can take that.
I'll take that because it does help against the Wraith Knight issue that was in the meta.
So I think you take that.
And it did have feel bads as well. Let's be fair. It did have feel bads for your opponent. Like you said, you've been playing Knights.
If you go first,
if you got turn one,
I just felt like a total dickhead.
Pick that up. Pick that up.
Oh, I'll just blow that up. Be like, oh great.
I mean, it wasn't as oppressive as the Eldar because at least you were still rolling those dice.
Yeah. But you should ask Rob who's in chat. Like me and Rob. Evening guy, right, mate? I'll go back to chat in a sec, read those comments. Me and Rob had a game at GW at a tournament, and I had a 500 point, whatever it was at the time. It was pre-date. It's like 500 odd point Castellan, just die to Chaos Knight. You know what I mean? It was just a kind of like, I see that thing, I shoot that thing, I kill that thing. All right, great. So I think the line of sight changed to Towering. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
fine.
I think it's all right.
I prefer it now. Because if the knight's in the ruins, it can see out.
Yeah.
And if they can't see you, they can't see you, which is way better. Ninth, I don't know if you play...
I played a lot of knights.
You play knights and you played them in ninth. It just sucked when you couldn't see something and it was shooting you.
Yeah.
It was just dull. You were like, all right, great. Well, that guy's going to die then, unless I immediately put him in a position. So what you would find is the big knights had to really quickly have an effect on the game because they were just getting shot they were getting plinked every turn. So you would have to rush them into a position. Yeah. Whereas now, they can play a later game because you're like, do you know what? He'll stay there.
Yeah, he'll just hold.
Yeah, he'll just stay there and he'll watch that angle, and you can't shoot him. That is way better. So I kind of take that change because there's a good side for the Knights player.
I think the bondsman ability though was unnecessary.
Why
was
change
massively unnecessary.
Why? That was not the problem with Knights. Was not that.
No,
it wasn't
not even a little bit.
It wasn't the bondsman ability. The bondsman ability just gave the big knights some flavour and some feeling. The other thing that was completely unnecessary was increasing a bunch of the stratagems, which were good stratagems, to 2 when they're absolutely fine at 1.
Well, no, what they needed to do with the stratagems is exactly what they did in ninth with the stratagems for knights, is make them cost 1 for the little knights, 2 for the big knights, and 3 for the massive knights.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
That is what it is.
And not get rid of the bondsman ability.
Yeah, and not get rid of the bondsman ability. Just a couple of them increase, because it is a 500-point model, so maybe the stratagem should cost more. Yeah. But at the same time, keep the bondsman abilities, and you play around that, and you keep your CP, and you understand what you're trying to do and trying to achieve.
And the bit that pisses me off about that from a competitive perspective is the other thing that I've seen in games when they get balanced is. You need skews at either end of the spectrum. Yeah. You need vehicle spam to create a healthy meta. You don't want broken vehicle spam because then everyone plays them and it goes shit. Yeah. Although when metas go that heavy, like if the problem with Eldar was just the fact they're all vehicles that you could shoot like knights, the meta would adjust and they'd get slapped down a little bit.
Yeah, because you run stuff specifically.
Yeah, people just be like, well, they're really easy to take against. You just take loads of anti-vehicle stuff if you can hit them. Yeah. But what you also need on the other end is like infantry spam. So like Gene Stealer Cults and Imperial Knights, I think you want them to be in healthy positions. You need them at decent win rates because then people take lists.
They're check armies, aren't they? Yeah, we always say this about Knights. They're a check army. Yeah. They're the army that makes sure that you have to put some anti-tank or some anti-vehicle into your list because if you don't and then you draw them, well, then you're rinsed. You're done. Yeah. But the problem is with Knights, because they are such a skew army, they swing.
They swing. Yeah, they do swing.
It's so hard to get them in that right spot.
The other thing that's really pissed me off about the data slate is, so the X-Action squad is now just a stupid amount of points.
What did it go from 35 points to what?
What is it now, like 120 or something? What is it at? It's completely stupid. It's gone up to loads. It's a 10-man unit now.
Oh, so it's not a 5-man anymore?
No, it's a 10-man unit. But point-wise, it's gone absolutely bonkers.
Has anyone else noticed that this week that they've decided to start charging for the app as well, unless you want to make more than one list? That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I think I'm fine with it.
I think stop being tight. It's a fiver.
Is it? I haven't even looked, to be fair.
110 points. 110 points for 10.
So it was 35 for 5.
But now you have to take 10 and it's
so they would have been 70 for 10. So they've gone up 40 points, and it's a mandatory 40 points.
It's fucking disgusting.
Ramsey's on it.
Like literally, all Knights needed is just 5 chumps that are going to stand on an objective at the back. That's literally.
Otherwise, you just leave one of your armigers stuck back there doing absolutely
which is super annoying. Yeah, because
and they've gone up in points,
and then they put the fucking points up. So they're like, it's 150 points for this lad to tickle the backside. Fucking bullshit. Right,
let's do some chat because I see it going
evening,
off over
guy.
there.
You're right, matey. Good to see you. Evening. I think 40k is an excellent competitive teams game and a very silly rock, paper, scissors nonsense fest in singles. I love guys' comment there because team events are absolutely ace.
Team events are exactly what this game, this hobby should be about. Because it's not just skewing your list into one person. It's actually reading the meta, understanding what other people are going to bring, and making your list combat something within their list. Yeah, it's superb.
It's a superb point, and definitely, team. Maybe in this sort of crazy ass Wild West meta, maybe team events are more of a push. I know there are a bunch of team events, but maybe that could be leaning a bit more.
Yeah.
So that's Guy. Cal says, what I've read is Eldar will just pivot away from what's been good till now, and I choose other busted shit. Any other faction would kill a Dex with half the depth of the Eldar book. Yeah, it's a deep book in it. It's a deep book of a lot of good models, a lot of good abilities. Like it is not. They're not starved of options. Are they?
Well, yeah, you've got But the thing that I find with the Eldar book, and let's just compare it to Knights because it's not a great comparison. But have Knights got anything, or Death Guard? Let's pick Death Guard then. Have Death Guard got anything that move like warp spiders or swooping hawks? They don't have it.
No.
They can't play the secondary game the same way as Eldar do.
Yeah.
And I know Guy's in the chat, and he's a Chaos player, and he has looked at Death Guard before as well. And he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's anything that plays the secondary game as well as Eldar do. And then on top of that, Eldar are just better.
Yeah.
So you either have one or the other, I think.
Yeah, that's another thing that makes good competitive games is design armies that have strengths and weaknesses and like create a bit of balance so you could, you're not just starved of one thing. But when you create strengths and strengths, so like, this army is really good at killing things, it's also really good on scenario.
Yeah, it plays the mission epically well.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's actually really strong.
Yeah, that's just bad and bad. Luke says Bondsman's OP.
Are you just trying to rile
trying
him?
to wind me up, innit?
Ban him. Kick him out of the chat.
Luke.
Luke.
Wind him up there. Guy said Knights got shot with an orbital laser.
Yeah, they pretty much did.
Luke, X-Action Squad is on par points-wise with Tempestus Scions.
Yeah, Imperial Guardian.
X-Action Squad was very undercosted before. More a shame you can't take. Yeah, I agree completely, Luke. And Luke's also saying take a lone OP assassin. But I mean, I'm going to have to take assassins. Yeah, I mean, assassins are still good. I'm not, Yeah,
but again,
I'm not denying that. But it was 30 points for 5 model. I'm not going to get 30 points worth of value. It's fitting it in a list. Knight's list. You're working with small margins because you like your big lads are expensive. Your small lads 150 points.
Let's just touch on the fact that the way that they've done points and war gear in this edition is a pain in the backside. Because what you used to be able to do
there's no flexibility.
Yeah, in ninth, what I used to do is build my Knights list, put something small in it, and if you were over points, you'd go like, well, I'll take the melter off of them, I'll take the melter off of them, I'll put a stubble on here, and you'll tinker, and you can move those 5 or 10 points up and down. How many lists has everyone written? Like people can say in the chat, where you end up putting I'm allowed to swear on this one, aren't I? Shit enhancement. Shit enhancement on a character.
It's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, it's fucking disgusting. You put a shit enhancement on a character because you've got 20 points left.
Yeah.
But you can't do anything else with those points.
Lack of flexibility in list building is a perpetual bugbear.
Yeah.
What's Telly said Telly, sorry, what's going on with Flyers now? Flyers still, they were the thing that sat in the realm of ignoring terrain, but now they still do, don't they? So Towering don't, but
yeah. To be fair, I have played almost 20 games of Temp so far, and I'm yet to play a flyer, an actual proper flyer.
I haven't played against flyer either.
Like I don't think the rules work for them. I don't think they can complete a lot of the actions. So from understanding the rules, I think a lot of them say can't be completed by flyers. So
not as good.
Yes.
If chat have got some flight insights, any air traffic controllers in the chat?
I mean, all of the boys in the chat, I think I've probably played against most of them, and none of them have taken any flyers. I don't even know what flyers you would take.
No, none have jumped out when I've looked at stuff, and I've definitely not seen any.
I know there used to be some cool shenanigans that used to go on the AdMech ones in ninth, and how they used to move and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but honestly, I haven't seen them.
Guy says Voidsman at Armor Acolyte's worth a go. Yeah, I just think they're more points. I'll just have to really cheap. How much are Voidsman? I feel like Voidsman are a bit more. They're like 90. Telly says when they rolled them out, it was utter bullshit as you couldn't target them. Oh, Flyers in last. Yeah, maybe that was in last edition, wasn't it? That was in 9th.
Yeah,
they were. I remember seeing loads of competitive games where there was just flyers everywhere.
It was the end of 7th when it was really, really bad. Yeah. But that was when Eldar were broken again. Eldar swinging these weird. They're one extreme or the other, it seems to be with Eldar. They're either broken or completely unusable.
Guy says, I've heard people say they could go for an AOS approach and give the army that's undercosted an extra CP or something. Yeah, if you can... I mean, I guess the idea was they were going to make quick change. The idea to put everything on the app means they can just change the points quickly. But yeah... So
what they used to do in AOS was you built your list... But if you built your list and your list was less points than your opponents, you got something called a triumph, I think it was called.
Oh, yeah, I did play AOS. I should know this.
And the triumph was like you could, I think you could spend it on like auto passing, morale. You could do an advance and charge,
like +1 damage.
Yeah, it was something
Once per
along
game.
those lines.
Yeah, it was
and
that. Yeah.
People built their lists. There was actually, because I played AOS for a bit, there was actually people that would build their lists around gambling that they would be cheaper to get the triumph to make their list work in a certain way. Which added another dynamic to it. So that could be something they'd introduce. But again, you'd probably introduce it and it would trying to balance that amongst all of the armies that you've already got.
Yeah.
You'll end up in a position where you overpower something again.
We could make it really fun and say if your opponent is like more than 100 points ahead of you and you win, you can smash one of the models with a hammer at the end of the game. Something like that, do you know what I mean?
Christ. Let's not go down that. We're venturing into
Northern
hobby nightmares.
40K.
Yeah, we're Northern Exile hobby nightmares, aren't we? People smashing models and fighting in games rooms.
Carl says, University bullshit, matey. Sadly, I'd love my WASBomb to be good again. Guy, it's always been this way with Eldar. Telly, when they rolled them out, it was utter bullshit. You couldn't target them. That's what we're talking about with the Flyers.
Yeah.
Carl, I've heard people say that they could go for the AOS Pro. Oh, I read that, sorry. Speaking as survivor of 8th edition Eldar Flyer meta, I'm glad.
Honestly, it was so bad. I think it stopped me playing for a while, that it was that bad.
Oh, really?
It genuinely stopped me playing because you turn up, and Guy will confirm this, you turned up to play a game and they put 3 or 4 Eldar Flyers on the other side of the board. And if they went...
I'm worried.
Yeah. And if they went first and they got their psychic powers off, you genuinely couldn't even target them.
That was it, game.
It was game because you couldn't target them. You couldn't even hit them. It wasn't possible to hit them. So you just stood there and went, oh, this is cool. And they'd be like, right, pick that up, pick that up, pick that up. And you go, cool.
Yeah.
Right, next turn, I'm going to try and shoot them. Oh, wait, I don't have anything that's anti-aircraft. Excellent.
Yeah, that sounds awful. My chair's really creaky, by the way, so I'm creaking around my chair. Carl says, Flyers can't really affect the game until the 3rd with the current rules. Well, it sounds like a good thing that the Flyers are a bit more in check. We have bigger things to worry about than Flyers at the moment, thankfully. I feel like we've done a good rundown of what was crap and what's really annoyed us, which is Eldar seem like they're still in a good position. We'd love to be proved wrong. Knights got slapped maybe a little bit too hard. We focused on one positive, that Tyranids have come out of a codex and look good, but that wasn't the data slate. Is there anything
I think
pleased about the data slate? Like I've been quite negative.
I'm going to upset people in the chat. I'm not being negative. I'm just going to upset them with my first comment is, I think one of the armies that took the biggest glow up is one of the armies that I really dislike, which is Death Guard. But I honestly think Death Guard took a big glow up in this. They were so unbelievably bad before this patch. They've got new ability, which seems to be pretty good. So their Contagion Aura now does something else. I think it's extra AP or -1 ballistic skill, -1. So it does something else. They've then dropped in points massively as well, from my understanding. And it's good to see. I mean, Death Guard have got a full-on following. So to see an army
are a bit
like
culty with them, aren't
they? Like to see an army like that get a decent buff, and actually it looks like the people that make the rules have taken notice of it. I think is definitely something that's a good thing for the game. Personally, look, they've got like a whole,
Yeah, they definitely got tickled up, and I think Death Guard players will be happy with that. And I'm actually glad that they were bold enough to give them to really adjust this.
Yeah, because it
rather
was
than just
awful.
being like, oh, do the points. They were like, oh no, they're shit. Yeah.
No, but their rule was just pointless. It didn't the way that toughness and strength interact in this game at the moment, and that's why the Blood Angels rule is a bit jank as well, with this extra +1 strength on the charge.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather have +1 AP, because AP's dropped in this meta. So I'm not fussed about the strength. I'd rather have the +1 attack, +1 AP.
Yeah.
Because AP's bigger than strength and toughness, in my opinion.
This sort of thing really amuses me, that they're like, oh shit, do you think we need to refine what we mean by bolt weapon?
Yeah, and put let's fill half a page with
so
bolter guns.
Like, yes, we need all these different variants, call it a bolt weapon. So yeah, I mean, the Death Guard thing seems good. I think Custodes, it'd be good to hear Tom's reflect. I'm playing Tom tomorrow, so maybe I'll chat to about it then, but Custodes obviously took a big hit in terms of their unit sizes. Those big 10-man
So they
squads
went down
were
to 5.
Absolutely brutal.
They've also got this where they can't use that fights first stratagem for free because of the way that free stratagems have changed. They've got to be battle strats. The other thing that was a massive effect for them is they actually liked devastating wounds.
Yeah,
Because they got a 4 up against
Yeah.
it. Now they don't
Now
get
they
a
don't-
4
now they don't
up
have that.
against it.
So I mean, Custodies are another one where I feel like they've been hit a bit by this, probably more than they needed to, and not as much as Eldar, but will probably come out of it in a decent I'm sorry, but Custodies are still very strong.
Custodies are always going to be a good army.
Super tanky army.
Yeah.
You know, always able to do damage, always able to stay on the board, and in a game that relies so heavily on staying on the board and scoring scenario, they're definitely not as good as they were, but.
Yeah, I think that, and this is when you look at it, I think Knights, Custodies, and GSE probably got hit the hardest out of the 3 armies.
Yeah, which
out
is
of all of it.
Why it's so stupid.
And I don't think necessarily. I think GSE probably needed a little bit of a knockdown, but I don't think Knights and Custodies were that oppressive. I don't know. The chat might disagree with me, but I don't think they were that oppressive, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. Telly says with points drops across most armies, are we looking at some more towards MSU armies?
I think it's however you run it. The thing is with this edition, you've got to run a certain amount of units because you have to be able to hold objectives and score your secondaries. So your secondaries are not always sit on an objective. It might be, engage on all fronts or deploy teleport homers, area denial. What's the one where you have to go into the quarters? We have to go into the table.
Teleport home.
No, there's one where you have to
extend battle lines. Is it? No, that's
there's
where
one of them where you have to go into the quarters. There's so many of them now, 16 of them. But you've got to have enough units that you can hold objectives to score primary and have units that actually are able to, especially if you're doing tactical where you're pulling them, have that ability to move around to be able to score those secondaries. And, that the Librarian Dreadnought I put in my Blood Angels list is there purely to score secondaries. That's what he does.
Yeah, he teleports around.
He teleports stuff around. So you have some infiltrators, as in not the actual unit, because they went up in points as the only unit that I run. But you have him in there to score those secondaries because you don't know what you're going to get. And I think this is where it's kind of a bit weird as well. I'm going off on a tangent here. That you could play someone that is doing fixed missions and you could be playing tactical. And it's weird that you can build a list around a fixed objective.
Yeah, we were chatting about that the other night, weren't we, after the game?
Yeah, and I think you almost need to agree beforehand if you're both doing tactical or both doing fixed.
Yeah. I actually, we're veering off the balance.
Yeah,
maybe that's it's fine. It's interesting. Maybe that's a good one to chat about. Is that because we had a conversation of the game after on Thursday. I think prompted by Rob saying Luke.
No, he was saying that you should have taken.
Sorry, I should have taken fixed.
But Luke was the one that when we were warming up before we started.
But then I made
Luke
feel bad because I was like, that's boring.
Well, no, Luke went, I might take fixed. And I went, what are you going to take? Bring it down and engage on all fronts. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, well, yeah. You can tell that you're going to score a lot of points on those secondaries.
Yeah, we should do a chat about it. Rob's joined the chat as well. Evening, Rob. You all right, matey? Carlos, I think GW making big changes in the data slate to whole factions gives me confidence they're not afraid to make bigger changes than they first announced if they are obviously needed. I think that's a positive take. I like that.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree with that.
And let's be fair, we've all sat here before, especially in ninth, going, right, there's a load of stuff that needs changing, and the data slate comes out and addresses absolutely none of it. And we all sit here and go, oh, well, that was a waste of time then. Oh, wait, we've got some points increases. All right, I'll take a 5-man unit of something out, and then my army's still as oppressive as it was.
That is positive. Guy says the trouble with Custodies is they just render other melee units utterly irrelevant. I think the dev wound change is super harsh on them, but I like the smaller units and the limit on fight first.
Yeah, the dev wound thing is like a massive nerf to like them. It almost felt like it was a nerf indirectly. Like they thought, right, we're going to nerf dev wounds.
Yeah.
Oh crap, that balls Custodies up. We'll just go with it anyway.
Yeah. It's like they've basically lined up all the armies that were upsetting people a bit and been like, right, we're going to shoot. It's like firing squad.
Yeah.
And they've gone. They've Eldar's come out, not taking many hits. But everyone else
Eldar's
is
just
peppered.
dancing in the background like this, isn't it? Just dodging all the bullets.
Eldar's like, oh gosh, scraped my leg, that really stung. And then Custodies are there like in the corner bleeding. Do you know what I mean? They're like, right, you lot are in a lot of trouble.
Do you know, like the Monty Python sketch, it is but a flesh wound.
It's like
literally lying there.
Basically, what's happened is me and Telly Novelli were in situations like this in school where people get called in and they're like, right, what's happened? It's 5 of you.
Talk to me, what's
and
happened?
Something's fucking, you're all in trouble. What's happened? And one of them's wormed out of it and been like, what my fault? Like, and that's Eldar. Eldar have got a bollocking.
But pointed the finger at someone else behind someone's back. The
assessments is like, Custodies and Knights, you guys have been absolute shits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They've not taken quite the hit. Rob, I assume you did my thoughts, Liam. You did do Rob's thoughts, but do feel free to type in chat any of your key points. Why is Dev Wounds changed the nerf to Custodies? Oh, you just said that, didn't you?
Yeah, so Custodies had like an army rule where they had a 4+ save against mortals. Pretty sure it was.
Yeah. Rob's saying Eldar played dead in that scenario. They did, didn't they?
Eldar like, possum.
Just played possum. Everyone else is playing really hard. Like, come on.
Do you think like the main person that writes the rules is an Eldar player? What do you think they play?
Well, yeah.
What does the person that writes the rules play?
Not Warmer.
Not Warmer. He's just there playing chess.
Fucking Warcraft. Cluedo and Warcraft.
Oh my God. I bet he's well good at a dinner party.
Let's
get him on.
So, like, we were trying to find things we're happy with. I mean, I don't want people to think we're being, like, overly negative. I think, on the whole, it was good to see them step outside of just points changes. The devastating wounds, the initial read was like, that does feel like a positive change for the game, although it's still incredibly... Being able to just delete a vehicle still feels...
So I'm
just trying to look for positives.
Well, let's take some more positives. So, Tau, gone down a lot of points. We'll give them a massive glow up, I think.
Yeah, well, you'd hope so. They've got, like,
what do you call it? Necrons, cheaper warriors, avoid the Lich Guard spam.
It just felt like they were really good anyway.
I think Leagues of Votan. I think Rob's in the chat. Like, what? I mean, I can read what you've texted me, Rob, but it might be better for you to
Rob,
to bang Leagues of Votan in the chat, right? AdMech. They changed the AdMech rule as well. I think the AdMech rule does a bit more now. I still can't see them being overly competitive, though. They're just another one of those armies that's just epically complicated to try and play.
And I think we've mentioned the positive changes to Gene Stealer Cults. I think Luke's comment in the chat was great that, like, these guys did need toning in a bit and they're still strong. Like, I think Gene Stealer Cults and this balanced data slate are a good example of how to balance an army.
Yeah, look at what's actually wrong with them and change what's wrong with them.
And then stop.
Yeah, you don't need to go...
So I'm going to bring it up again. Don't do this. What is the point in that? Why have you done that? What the fuck were they doing? Why on earth have they changed that bondsman ability? Why have they done all this? Sorry, I've already mentioned it once. I'm not going to mention it again.
It would have been interesting with Knights if they just changed towering and Overwatch and seen how it would have gone.
Just change towering. And do you know what? Like, trophy claim is a good stratagem. Trophy claim is a very good stratagem. That going to 2 is not the, I recognise the strength in that stratagem.
Yeah.
But you don't have to go here and here and that and change towering and increase the points.
It's like an epic 2-foot tackle they've taken.
It's fucking stupid. So Votan, see what Rob says in the chat. I'll read chat in a sec. Is good. I think we're generally happy that there was an attempt to
I'm glad they
address some of the
messed
broader
around
things.
with Deathwatch as well. Because I played Deathwatch and I played, like I said, I played quite a lot of games of 10th, and Deathwatch were, I found, because I run quite an infantry heavy list, extremely oppressive. So I'm glad they've changed the dev wounds, the way that their army rule works with their rounds, and the fact that it has to be on a bolter weapon.
Yeah.
Because because of the way they had these teleport shenanigans, they'd appear, delete a unit, and then disappear again.
Yeah, not fun.
And it wasn't
awful.
Yeah, wasn't a lot of fun.
There's a lot going off in chat. So there's let you guys are talking to each other about the Custodies change. Rob says, I can say that this patch is good. Even Eldar can be beaten by a good player. It means you won't get anyone grabbing Wrath Knights and Smash. Leagues are now solidly mid-table. Very nice for them. I would like more rules with them, but they are now able to actually fight. Guy says AdMech are still total bum.
Yeah, AdMech are still... AdMech and Blood Angels are going to be languid. Nah, I don't think Blood Angels are that bad anymore. But I
Rob,
think
sorry, go on.
I think AdMech will be AdMech and probably Sisters chat will probably be at the bottom, I would suspect.
Yeah, Rob, you're still upset about Sisters.
Rob, don't get what I shouldn't have said anything.
Rob,
will start.
write as an essay on Sisters in the chat.
Don't, it'll go, mate.
Rob, I'm not having this. The bondsman ability change is actual law, thing they never intended you to be able to do to big nights. I mean, listen.
Listen, don't rile him up. Stop riling him up.
Rob, let me tell you this. This is the problem with Games Workshop that we've been chatting about. When they put law over rules, there's a problem. And I respect that point. That, okay, fine, bondsman ability is actual, they never intended to be able to do it in big nights. But who fucking cares? That's my reply. Who cares? Who's turning up and going, do you know what? My army's shit, but I'm glad it's in line with the law.
But then the problem
Who's
is
doing
you
that?
go the other way with it, and you do armies that are purely law-based, and they're either massively overpowered
look at
or
Eldar.
massively underpowered.
Yeah, that's what we've been chatting about, innit? I think
it wasn't an issue.
I think our main message through this chat, or what's come out of it, is make rules that are good in practice, not good on the piece of paper.
Yeah,
that's the message, innit?
And play test it against stuff. Like
play test the fucking game.
Play test the game. Like
do you know what? It's a hell of a good idea.
Do you know what I mean? It does feel like Temp came out and they didn't play test a lot of it.
It's radical but good.
It's a really radical idea when we're 10 editions into play test it before you release it.
Imagine them being for
Christ.
the 11th edition being like,
wait a minute, my phone's ringing, it's GW. They're like, oh my God, he's had the idea. I've had the call up, boys. I'll see you later.
Right, boys, team meeting. There's a bit of feedback that we should play test the edition before it goes like, do you reckon?
Oh my God.
Jesus. Rob. We're just innocent men. AdMech Sisters Worst Armies in the game. You clearly care. We can ask.
We sometimes have to ask Rob
you clearly care.
like,
we can taste the salt. Yeah, no, he's had me there.
Yeah, I mean,
you can taste the salt.
I'm lucky because I actually haven't bought my Knights to a 10th edition game yet. But
I got them all up there. I got hundreds of pounds.
Don't, mate. I've got tattoos on my hands.
He's tattooed his hand, and look what they've done tonight.
Look what they've done. I'm going to scrape it off later.
He's tattooed his hand, and this is what they've done to him.
I've got Knights and I've got Blood Angels. That's the problem. Absolutely done, mate. I'm done.
Look at your percentages.
Got nothing left. Look at my percentages. Look at my KPIs.
We're gonna have to get Eldar on your tits.
Oh mate, don't just that extreme.
Eldar badge and Dakari or leagues or something.
Mate, Jakari, that's like I'll get stopped at customs with stuff like that tattooed on myself, won't I? Basically getting strip searched by TSA because I got weird stuff tattooed on my body. What does that mean?
Wearing a towel helmet.
Yeah.
Customs there.
Wearing a towel. Well, just a full guard helmet on. Oh, what else have we got in the chat? Have we got anything else?
No, it's Rob. No, nothing else. I was going to take us off to a cosplay point there, but I think it's a mixed bag. I think in summary of our key points, Rob says, Liam, this is how I was for the last 6 months. Fine, fair. You're right. It's not a terrible balanced data slate.
Mate,
it's not terrible.
There's been a lot worse.
I feel like I've been very negative. But it's not terrible, but there are some frustrations which might manifest themselves in the competitive scene. Because Rob's come in there and been a bit. Eldar can be beaten by good player, but I still feel like you missed the chat at the beginning. Obviously, the fate dice mechanic is just dumb. It's just a dumb mechanic for a competitive game. It's a stupid idea.
And Rob's talk. I think what we almost need to appreciate is Rob is probably talking at a GT level. And yes, you get players at GT levels that will be able to play against Eldar because you'll have that repeat play against them and you'll know how to play into them. Turning up for a casual RTT or your casual game down at your local gaming store, I still think they're oppressive.
Yeah,
personally, I just think they are because your lists aren't built like that. A lot of people that play, and this goes back to our discussion last week against casual and competitive play. A lot of more casual players will play a fluffy, a bit more thematic list. They won't skew their army to play these people that you're going to encounter at these tournaments. They just won't do it. It's just not what happens.
No. The good thing about this, and one of the things that GW have got in the favour is the insane amount of games that are played every week and the incredible effort. Shout out to these guys.
The thing, can I just mention one other thing as well though? Rob said he had a game this evening. So how long's that game actually lasted, Rob? Considering you're on the chat at 9:30, and you were supposedly starting this game at 6 o'clock. So someone's got absolutely
What's
thumped this
happened,
evening.
Rob?
Yeah, what's happened, Rob? Did you thump someone or did you get thumped?
Rob says fake dice are fine now. Dev wounds are only ignore saves. The only thing they do is 2 damage ignoring saves. Carl says we are the playtesters for 10th lads. Just unpaid playtesters didn't know we're doing it.
Yeah, we're basically GW's volunteers, aren't we? That's the thing. We're one of those unpaid apprenticeships where they're like, you're happy to be having this job.
You will keep smiling and keep nodding. Thanks for your service.
And make sure you just keep buying our miniatures and feeding back into us.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
100 VPs conceded turn 2. Jesus Christ.
What mission were you playing? What were you playing?
Who wants to play Rob next week, lads? Oh, turn 3. Nid's undefeated.
Oh, were you playing the Biovore spam still?
Let us know, Rob.
Let us know, Rob, about that Biovore spam.
I think we've given a good breakdown there of our thoughts on... I feel like quite cathartic. I feel like I've had a really good rant, actually, about the night stuff. I feel like I've got a lot off my chest.
Yeah, I feel that... But again, we've got to look at it in a way that, you know, we can sit here and we can dissect all these numbers and we can talk about... And this is what we said before we came on stream, wasn't it? We can sit here and we can do the... I'm not going to dig him out again because we digged him out last week, but there's a certain person that does the YouTube that speaks in a very monotone voice and goes through every single statistic and every single stat and every single... That's not what we want to do, is it? We want to have an open discussion about it and put some... I want to swear for one. And put some lightheartedness into it and have this open discussion with people in the chat. Yeah, get annoyed, get salty.
Get fired up. Strong opinions.
Yeah, I just want to say, I might be you next week if Blood Angels stay where they are. And
what, you think they're going to sit down there? Well,
I can't see them staying down there for long. I think there's play in Blood Angels. I know I'm a Blood Angels player, but I think there's play in Blood Angels.
You're devout. You're a fundamentalist.
Well, I just think there is. I think that
Sister Battle still fought up.
I mean, how many? They only had 14 people playing them, so that might add to it. And yeah, it depends what you're taking.
Hey, look, somewhere they won an event, so shut up.
Exactly that. That's what I mean.
Look, did better than all these others on
so
zero.
Scroll up to the top. I don't think Jakari. No, who was it? Space Wolves are sitting at 60%. didn't win an event.
Death Guard
didn't win an event.
But stop moaning. You won an event.
You won an event.
Sisters are fine. You won an event.
Sisters are fine, Rob.
Rob, just be as good as them.
Yeah, Rob. Why aren't you as good as that player?
Rob, if you're just as good as them, you'll be fine, mate. Start playing Sisters.
I'm gonna end up with some sort of weird head in my bed or something, can't I?
Yeah, he's gonna fuck you up.
He's gonna fuck me up.
He's gonna take you down. You can wake up.
I'm gonna wake up
surrounded by biovores.
And LeBeau standing over me, just grinning.
He'll have 2 biovores in each hand.
God,
ram them in your eyes.
I normally have to pay for that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah, he'll charge if you want.
Hey,
it's fucking disgusting.
Right. back on topic.
I think that's a good summary of the balanced data slate. I don't have any more thoughts. I don't know if you've got any more of your notes key points you wanted to get out. But I think
I think we've gone through a lot of it. There's stuff we didn't touch on when you talk about Chaos Demons, Thousand Suns.
They're all just all right though. They're all fine,
but they're all hovering around where they should be. And I think that was never the issue at the moment. The issue was to try and bring some of the lower ones up and try and bring some of the higher ones down. And just try and balance. Let's be fair. It's a game with X amount of armies. There's always going to be something that's fairly unbalanced.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I think the end of Ninth was probably the best I've seen it in a long time. The end of Ninth was good, but it's a new edition. Lively. There's new rules. There's one codex out,
which looks good. So let's focus on the positives. Take what we can.
Let's just ask Mr. LeBeau what detachment? No, I don't know. What detachment he thinks he's running for NIDS? What are you going with? Are you going with the Synaptic one or the Vanguard one? I like the Vanguard one personally.
Which is the Lictor one?
The Vanguard one.
Yeah, it looks really good, doesn't it? I'm slightly worried it's not going to be able to do a lot of damage. A little bit bouncy.
I think it's going to struggle with. Output.
Yeah.
But I think there's so many tricks and tips with it that I think a good player will play it nicely.
Yeah, because you're winning the game on scenario, aren't you? You're not killing stuff.
Yeah.
Rob says Synaptic.
Yeah, I think that was the one that a couple of them seemed. The Harvester one I didn't really get. I didn't get it. I looked at it and I wasn't quite sure on it. But yeah, the Synaptic one looks good.
I pre-ordered everything for my birthday, like loads of Tyranid stuff.
Have you
and
got
then
the
it's just
Norn
not
yet?
turned up. No, none of it's turned up. It's not even been sent.
It's just DW, mate.
But isn't that annoying that I was like, get the order in, and then it's just in shops, I can't get it.
But then you can't cancel. Like,
Yeah, I'm just sat with it, like, it's just
So
super nice. I want to like get the book and read the book, and I don't know, it's just sat in a warehouse. It's annoying.
G-Dub twist my nut.
Rob says Synaptic equals just table them.
Oh God! Shocked I'm not playing Rob
yeah.
again.
So Rob's looking for a game.
So anyone wants to challenge Rob, please come and see us.
Go for it.
There's a £5 fee associated with game setups, and it all goes to mine and Paul's chocolate habit.
Chocolate charity
habit.
Definitely.
Iron brew, need brew.
I'm worried.
I think we sum up. I think that's good coverage.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's really anything else to say on it. I do like the fact they've changed Desolation Marines. That did feel oppressive.
Yeah, 10's dumb.
10 was silly with Bolter Discipline. 5's nice.
Yeah.
Leave it at that. See if people still take it. I reckon people will still take it.
Yeah, but it just won't be stupid.
It just won't be as silly as it was.
Yeah, 10 was too much. Although indirect fire I've still got a gripe on, but whatever. Like I said, I don't think it's the biggest worries at the moment.
No.
There's other stuff. But we're still positive. We'll see how it goes. We'll look at the... It's good that the results always come out beginning of the week, so we can have a look at them next week, see what the percentages look like, see if our predictions are correct. Rob, I think we're a bit more sceptical about Eldar than you are in the chat, so we'll at the end of the day,
I think from
the numbers will tell. Do you know what I mean? We'll find out.
Yeah, from what Rob said to me, he still thinks Eldar will be the top list. Eldar will still be the top
Just beatable.
Army, just more beatable than they currently are.
Yeah, but
Which
ultimately, there's only one thing that matters, and that's the win percentage.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. And if it's not in check, they need more nerfs.
Yeah.
But we'll see what it is. Thanks for watching. I think we've got the stream coming on Thursday night
with Matt and Stu again.
With a better, or 10 times better camera.
Got an epic camera going to be set up. Unfortunately, the really handsome man on the DJ decks won't be on it this week. He hasn't been asked back for another week, unfortunately, because of technical issues.
I can't remember who it was.
Well, there was something to do with me flipping a camera round.
I can't remember who did it.
Like halfway.
No, he did a great job. That was just fun. I was delighted to get a game in, mate. I had a great time.
Well, I think, and this is a shout out to anyone else that's local as well. It's if I can do it, any of you boys can do it. Let's be fair.
Come get some games in. Come get involved.
Come and get involved. Hit us up.
Come to it. You get to meet Georgia. You know, sometimes you get a bit of tea cooked, other times not.
I randomly got to watch her eat food tonight, which was really creepy.
The mouthfuls are too big.
Yeah, and then when you said it, then got really weird. It got really weird.
Yeah, because we were like, let's watch you eat. Yeah, then the conversation.
So I basically turned up to watch Paul's wife eat food.
Yeah.
Which
it's quite a sight. Not that she's greedy or anything. Like she doesn't, she's.
Oh, mate, G's gonna watch this and literally come in swinging in a minute. Just absolutely windmilling.
She's fucking outside.
Just see her little head fly around the door.
Cheers, Guy. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you all in the chat. Want to play a game versus Nids, Paul? Definitely, Rob. I'm playing Tom tomorrow night. I will not play you on the stream there, Rob versus Nids, but maybe next Tuesday I'll give you a game, mate. We can have a rumble at the club, and yeah. Cheers, night, Guy. Take it easy, mate. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thanks everyone.
Tune in on Thursday, and yeah, see you soon. Cheers.
See you soon. Bye bye.